let me read what Fisher Ames did what he wrote in 1789.
All right.
And anyway, and it's going to kind of shock you a little bit. Not only did he say the Bible is the best book of his time, the best English book, the best history book, it makes us all the same. It should be taught in school. And he was very jealous about that fact that, he went to Harvard at 12, graduated Harvard at 16, proof the Bill of Rights. But he said, and I want to read this, and especially you pastors who think that you shouldn't have politics in school.
Yeah.
But and here's what we need to have.
Or religion in school.
Yeah. Well, we're going to read what he says. He says, "We have but a very slender hold of our virtues. They ought therefore to be cherished with care and practiced with diligence. He who holds parley with vice and dishonor is sure to become their slave and victim. The heart is more than half corrupted that does not burn with indignation at the slightest attempt to seduce it." Mm-hmm. So, in other words, it's very easy for our pastors to get off track. Mm-hmm. That God is a part of a nation, and when we disavow Him and try to take Him out of our military, and out of our police department, and away from our schools. The liberal left doesn't want you to do that. It doesn't want you to have God there. But think what it does. Mm-hmm. When you remove the God's Holy Spirit from the nation and from the schools and from the police, when the last thing you have to grab onto as an officer or as a military person when you're in battle, and I've been in battle, is God. You're asking God to help you. But you're having a president of the United States is telling the commander-in-chief at the Air Force Academy that you should not speak about God.
Let's talk about now, then. You opened a door that needs to be talked about.
Yes.
A man who said he was a Christian, who said he believed in marriage between one man and one woman. This is back in 2008. Okay. Now, we can already say that that was a lie because he obviously didn't believe it. He didn't change his mind in 4 years. And it just became politically okay for him to say that at that point. That makes him dishonest, okay, and to be kind about it. And he says he's a Christian. Now, how many, from what you know and from what you've heard, he's made all kinds of anti-Christian steps, including covering crosses. He's not going to speak at a Catholic college unless they cover the cross, those kind of things. That's weird.
Yes, it is weird. Yeah, and this is a man that has abandoned God. And then any man like that usually surrounds himself with other men like him. Maybe God uses a man only to like that in order to I'm just saying we cannot abandon God. Mm-hmm. And I think that God, if man doesn't speak up and stand for God, and believe me, if you want God in your presence and the blessings of the Spirit, you talk about God. You and I talked about this earlier, that when you and I talk about God, His presence is here. It's like we were praying. I remember once I was working with a director of university. It was for the national director of university. And he just started praying. He was talking. His eyes weren't closed. It wasn't bowed. But he was praying. And I know that I do not think God, the devil or evil, or Satan, this is Satan's world if we let him have it, can be present when we are talking about God. So if you want protection, start talking about God.
Yeah, if we want God in our schools, talk about God and pray. But if you want the devil in the schools,
that's right.
Which people say, no, we don't want the devil, we just don't want God.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about lies, when you talk about evolution, that's which isn't true. And I know people would be shocked. What do you mean? The sacred cow is not true. But when you talk about going green, that's not in the Bible. You can't have these teachings that are anti-God, that are anti-Bible. Yeah. And for some reason, we don't think it's a big deal, but it is, because the kids are being lied to through communism, through the agenda.
Well, how is it we can give these poor children in school, and we take God out of there, but they're and we have this high suicide rate in schools and educational systems, and then you have the military with a high suicide rate. Okay. And you have police officers with a high suicide rate. And I know, I work with some.
Is that right?
We have a wife that's on staff with my company. Her husband was a state police officer. Another officer who works in the ministry now, working in the ministry, used to be a sheriff and works with a lot of other police officers. And believe me, if you take God out of the police force in Oregon, or out of the military, so they can't pray, these men. This is a necessity. There's a necessity for them to have hope.
Now,
and
some
many of them
people,
are going home and putting a gun to their head and killing themselves.
a lot of people don't realize that the military has been under attack by the Obama administration through Christianity in the military, let's say, is under attack.
Your thought you brought to me was my statement to John McCain, okay? And he was like 10 feet away from me. And I said, don't you get it? And that's when I said to him, Obama was born in Kenya, okay? And his birth, don't you get it? His father was, they were mom and dad were never married, and he was raised in Jakarta, okay, when she married a man in Jakarta who was a Muslim, and he went to a Muslim school. Don't you get it? He's Muslim, and I actually went to the far as to say to John, and I think he wants to kill us.
And what did John McCain say about that?
Why don't you impeach him? No, why don't you impeach him? And I don't remember what his response. I probably shocked him pretty good because we were sitting in a fundraiser with about 50 other people.
And they all heard?
And they all heard. Okay. And I really didn't care if they heard or not.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get my. And
well,
John and
like
we both served on aircraft carriers. Okay. I served on the aircraft carrier Ticonderoga in the Gulf of Tonkin in 1964. That ages myself pretty good, but I'm only 17 mentally. So anyway.
All right. Keep going.
Anyway. So, and he served an aircraft carrier, and flew A4s and stuff like that. So, and John, we have a deep respect. He's very thankful for the service. This guy's been through hell and back. So, and maybe not have the same political views always as conservative as I believe them. I believe you have to stay the course.
Well, when we say conservative, really, I think generally what it means is we put the Bible and God in our politics.
That's
and
correct.
We don't compromise.
You don't compromise.
Yeah, just like our founders, just like your lineage.
Yeah. My great grandfather was the founder of the Ames Shovels Company, which is the oldest company in the United States. And he had 4 sons, and one was Representative Oaks Ames of Massachusetts, and he worked for Lincoln. And Lincoln's the man that said, Ames, you're the man for the job. Whatever you need, you shall have. If you need more, you shall have it. I want you to build the Pacific Railroad, and I want to take a ride on that when I retire. His son became governor of Massachusetts, thus Ames, Iowa. And his brother, Oliver Jr., who's still now running the shovel company along with the other 2 brothers. One made cannons, and anyway, and so forth. And he he built the Union Pacific with the monies that we got from Congress.
Wow.
And I told John McCain once, I said, what is it you make? Why don't you build a high-speed railroad across the country? And he said, I don't believe it's in subsidies. And I had to come back and say, well, Lincoln did, and I knew, And
well, but that's yeah, I don't know if it's the same, but Obama wants to build basically a new world order highway.
What Obama wants to do, and let's talk about that, because what Obama wants to do is bring illegals in here. For one, they can give them the illegal vote, which is happening in Oregon.
Do you know where?
That's happening here in Oregon. And he wants to flood the nation with people from outside the country, and incling the Muslims.
Is it just the vote? Because and the Muslims.
I
think it's more
what they're doing in
senator.
France, he wants to do here in the United States. Okay. And this is all the master plan to destroy America.
Well, I think it's more to destroy America.
To
I think
destroy
that's the
America.
ultimate plan. But I think it's more sinister.
By infiltration. Believe me, you don't think we have people in the Republican Party here in Oregon that don't want to destroy it? And don't you think that we don't have people at the RNC that want to destroy it? Do you think that's not, and maybe even people in Congress
want to destroy the nation?
They run and occupy and pretend to be conservative,
Are they
Okay.
infiltrators, and is
They're
that what you're saying?
infiltrators.
Okay.
They're infiltrators. The enemy from within that our friend who
Well,
wrote
I
the
know
book,
for
Enemy from
a
Within.
fact that that when people run for office here in Yamhill County, sometimes they're Democrat, they turn into a Republican all of a sudden. Sometimes they're Democrat, they turn into an independent all of a sudden. So
Well, there's
that's-
also seduction going on. Seduction of the other people who think that they are Republican, and suddenly they're seduced and convinced, maybe by power, by money, within the party, or even on a national, even congressmen, even state senators. For instance, one of the words I'm looking for in reference to the Electoral College. That's a big seduction. The Democrats are seducing Republicans to try to get rid of the Electoral College, which is an agenda that the Democrats have. So you have to watch the seduction that's going on of our own House and Senate of Republicans that get seduced.
And is that just because they don't know any better? Or there's a financial gain?
They use the right words, seduce. But we can't allow this to happen. It's part of the leftist, call it a liberal agenda.
There aren't too many outlets where you can hear in-depth spiritual issues alongside conservative politics, where we can make a difference to those around us and our country. It's brought to you at a cost that's worthwhile, yet I'd like to do more. On 11thhourpolitics.com, you can buy books and videos that will advance this cause. There's delicious chanterelle tea containing vitamin D, proven to dispel depression. We have an art gallery and options to produce your own commercial or have us do it for you, along with other projects. It's only through a co-op that things get accomplished. I hope you will join me in this mission.
I just started taking colloidal silver this winter regularly. My energy level is better than it has been in years. My typical winter cold was minimal, lasting 2 days instead of evolving into bronchitis as my colds have been prone to do.